review, guys. Let's go. Let's mother effing go. Let's motherfucking go, guys. We got a review. We got a review to do. Let's go. What we doing? Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's go with it, guys. We about to do a review of rapper own label. The biggest scam in hip hop history. Fair use, fair use.
Signing away your musical rights to a record label and signing to a rapper-owned label. Often sold as safe spaces where the rapper just kind of gets it. Because after all, who better to sign to than another artist who knows exactly what an artist needs, right? In reality, they're often double the trap, combining the already predatory nature of major labels with the unchecked characteristics of an artist. And no one embodies that paradox quite like Kanye West in Good Music. Launched way back at the outset of his career with artists like John Legend and Common, Good Music morphed into a powerhouse of a label, and by 2018, it looked unstoppable. After all, this was the year that they made the famous Good Summer slate of releases featuring classic projects like Pusha T's Daytona, Kanye's self-titled album Ye, and Kanye and Cudi's long-awaited album Kids See Ghosts, all exclusively produced by Ye himself. Along the way, he even released lesser-hyped bangers such as Teyana Taylor's KTSE and Nas's Nasir album. But as successful as a move as this was, behind the scenes, in a rage-fueled episode that was leaked years later, Ye admitted to harboring resentment towards producing all of these albums for his own artists.
What the I'm doing giving Wanna Love You to Tiana? What the I'm doing giving that Daytona album to Pusha? What the I'm doing, bro? That was 3 Dark Fantasies that I gave away. Cop the kid, Nas rapping all goddamn offbeat on it. Don't even want to shoot a video. Just shoot the video, don't even tell me. These don't appreciate me. All these trying to use me. I'm the greatest artist living, and I can do everything.
While the label may have reached
Fair use, fair use.
they often maintained contentious relationships with his artists on and around the label, including one of, if not the biggest hitmaker on Good Music besides himself. An hour and 27 minutes into a drunken night on the Drink Champs podcast, Ye ominously held up a cardboard tombstone and declared that the worst thing he ever did was sign Big Sean, while going on to say that,
when I die, on my tombstone, it's gonna say, I deserve to be here because I signed Big Sean.
what played out wasn't just a disagreement, it was a public funeral of Big.
I totally fair use, fair use, fair use, fair use. I totally agree, though, man. I remember that summer 2018. 2018 probably was one of the best years of my life. I got engaged and all that, but needless to say, I remember that run though. That Nas album was lackluster. I thought that album would have been better because I feel like Ye is one of the greatest artists of all times and one of the greatest producers of all times as well. So I was very shocked that that album didn't do well. Tiana Taylor album wasn't that hype. It didn't do much. I think she's a gorgeous woman. I'm surprised because I don't think Big Sean dropped it. And I'm not a Kid Cudi fan, but that Pusha T album's a classic, man. That shit fire. That still bumped that shit. That shit was it was amazing. I'm surprised Common didn't drop nothing or 2 Chainz. I thought 2 Chainz was signing good music, but let's continue.
Sean's career orchestrated by his own mental. In the root of this, Ye accused Sean of betrayal. In his own words, Ye claimed Sean, alongside other proteges, got used quick by the Democrats to come at the man that actually changed their life. Or in other words, Ye expected loyalty during his bizarre presidential run in 2020. And when he felt like Sean didn't stand with him, he did the most Kanye thing ever. But rappers weren't exempt, because producers like Hit Boy, the man solely responsible for producing some of Ye's biggest hits like Ninjas in Paris and Click, had to suffer from falling out of favor with Ye. In his case, their fallout started after Ye found out Hit Boy had been producing for Beyonce while still signed under Good Music. And what should have been a moment of pride for Ye, his producer working with one of the biggest artists in the world, turned into a blackball when Ye saw this as disloyalty.
I dug through a lot of falling out with Kanye. Me up for a minute, bro. I was like, damn, am I gonna be able to really still do this? Like, just being 1,000, bro. It came to me that was like, Ye said to this, don't use Hit Boy on your album. Like, I really lived through that. How many more could get through Kanye trying to derail they, bro? I'm at the Nas party, like, I did a harder album for Nas than you did. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just real.
I agree. I feel like Hit Boy album was better. Even though I'm not a huge Nas fan like that, his flow.
Before anyone knew him as a rapper, he was Rockefeller's secret weapon, crafting the soul sampled theme behind Jay-Z's The Blueprint, while still producing for other artists outside the label, like Alicia Keys, Ludacris, and Janet Jackson. Back then, he was the same young producer who begged to be seen as more than a beatmaker, the same one who fought tooth and nail for creative freedom. Yet, years later, as the boss, Kanye had become everything he once rebelled against. With that kind of power dynamic in place, a healthy mentor-mentee relationship was never going to last. So it's no surprise that by 2025, the label is effectively dead, with every signee either moving on or distancing themselves from Ye entirely. In this case, the label model reveals its darker side. Support the boss with unwavering loyalty or risk having your entire career derailed. But Ye isn't even the worst example of this, because long before he was outed as the man he's known as today, Bad Boy Records had already become infamous for how it treated every single one of its artists, including the closest to Diddy. And among those who pushed this narrative the hardest was, of course, 50 Cent. But first, you know what really annoys me? Paying full price when you don't have to.
Fair use.
Stop handing billion-dollar corporations your full paycheck and click the link in the description to start saving without even trying. If you're still paying full price in 2025, that's on you.
Fair use.
Toxic. Then, years later, he revealed that Puff still owned it. That begins with the man that jump-started. You're still paying full price in 2025, that's on you. Over the course of his run through hip-hop, those who were formerly signed to Puff had plenty to say about what really went down to Bad Boy. And that begins with the man that jump-started the label. Greg Mack was the first to jump ship. His single, Flavor in Your Ear, basically put Bad Boy on the map. But once Biggie blew up, Puff shifted all the resources toward him. With Mac's second album shelved and Mac's producer blackballed for confronting Diddy over production credit, he was told he couldn't release music under Bad Boy again and refusing to drop him. Then came Mace, the label's golden child after Biggie's passing. At the height of his fame, he walked away from it all and became a pastor, while claiming the industry had become toxic. Then, years later, he revealed that Puff still owned his publishing, making millions off songs Mace no longer controlled. And when Mace tried to buy back his masters, Puffy allegedly refused. Up until this point, these were pretty standard shady label tactics. But things got much darker from 1999. After a nightclub shooting in
Yeah, it's like, wow, this. That's why I feel like the industry is shady. What Cole said, the industry shady and need to be taken over. I'm overcharging niggas what they did to the Cold Crush. Pay us for all the years that you owe us. Your money talks, but talk more buck. This shit shady, man. It's in a room full of vultures. Like, it's fucked up. Like, and Mace had some huge hits. Had big album, big hits. It's just amazing, man, how, like, TLC getting robbed. The label is graping them with no Vaseline. Like, it's robbery. But when the business people finesse small people, it's business. When the poor rob the rich, when the rich rob the poor, it's called business. But when the poor rob the rich, you going to jail. But it's fucked up, though, man. And one thing about Puffy, I would say, even though I ain't going to get into him going to jail and the shit with Cassie, I'm just amazed by the people that still, before he even got caught up in the scandal, in his case, getting his freedom taken, I'm still amazed by the people that wanted to sign with him. Puffy, Birdman, because they're all alleged of taking people money and not paying artists. And and it's amazing how people still work with him to this day. I'm just amazed by it. It ceased. I'm just so shocked that people still want to work with him with all these allegations of not paying artists, stealing from artists not getting what they owed. So it's just amazing about it.
involving Diddy and Jennifer Lopez, Bad Boy artist Sean would take the fall and serve 10 years in prison.
Yeah, Sean did a decade. That's wild.
Fair use.
Declaring
that he said Puff, quote unquote, sold him out to save himself.
Damn.
Loon, who was another promising name, left the label.
If I remember Loon, that was Mace 3.0.
Between Puff's business ambitions and his own artistry. He later converted to Islam and served nearly a decade in prison on related charges. Maintaining that Bad Boy's culture of excess had pushed him toward a lifestyle he wanted no part of. Even Young Jock and Machine Gun Kelly echoed the same frustrations with delayed payments, lost royalties, and restrictive contracts that kept them from profiting off their own success. By the late 2000s, nearly every major act had either been dropped, gone independent, or distanced themselves entirely. The so-called quote-unquote Bad Boy family had become a graveyard of careers. But one contract stands out the most, and that's Cassie. Thanks to the recent courtroom drama that played out, former fans got a glimpse into how Diddy truly ran things, particularly when it came to women like Cassie. Because as it turns out, he locked her into a deal that was practically unheard of in the music industry.
I think he Michael Jackson with the one glove?
On her own. When I signed the contract, I was 19. It was a 10-album deal, and I released an album later that year in 2006 in August.
Man, let's be real. Cassie wasn't gonna live up to that shit. And first of all, Cassie wasn't talented. Now she's a gorgeous girl, pretty as fuck, attractive woman. But 10 albums, that is nuts. And I think The Lock signed some absurd deal. And that shit was like fucking, I don't know, 1 album deal. And they was locked up for the contract, and they finally got released. So it just these contracts, man, it's like these slave contracts. I'm like, what the fuck? She'll never recoup that. So she locked in forever. That's a horrible deal. 10 albums. The average deal is usually 3 albums, maybe 5 at best. But 10? Oh no. And then it was harder to release music back then because you had to go through the list. Now you can release all the music on DSPs and shit like that. So man, that's horrible.
I was confused. I was a new artist that didn't know the lay of the
Disgusting.
land and things like that.
Shitty ass
This is
deal.
how we treated someone he claimed to love and share a relationship with. It raises a bigger question. If Cassie, with a direct connection to Diddy, could be trapped in a 10-album deal, what chance did the rest of Bad Boy's roster ever have? All the while, he sought to take advantage of Cassie's lack of awareness and how the game worked. I wasn't used to an executive or anyone being that forward with me, in a more than friends way, a romantic way. I remember running out back to my hotel and telling someone about it. From there, he continued to blur the lines between authority figure and romantic partner, exerting incredible control over her in the process. In a story that now seems even more haunting now that we know so much more about Diddy, former signee Young Jock recalled how Puff could have Cassie do anything he wanted without hesitation.
I was watching Puff.
Fair use.
White woman. It was bottles on bottles on bottles around her. It was lit. Puff jumped out. Me and Cassie sat next to each other. My wife right here, Cassie right here. Jumped off the bar, came over and said, yo, Cassie, tomorrow, I want you to shave the side of your head. I was like, what the kind of request is that? So when I look up there, this white woman's side of her head was shaved, man. So within like 2-3 days, she sent me a picture. I'm like, should I shave her head?
But this warped perception of his female artists wasn't limited exclusively to Cassie either. Speaking in a tell-all interview about his time with Diddy,
I ain't gonna hold you. I remember a point of time between 06, 07, 08. I was legit at the time. I'm probably about 10, 9, whatever the case may be. I remember people was rocking that hairstyle. So Cassie did start a trend. She did start a trend. Hopefully that shit don't come back. I think Rihanna wore it too, I'm not mistaken. But she did start a trend, a fad with that hairstyle. Yeah.
bodyguard Gene
But
Miller recalled
Cassie can't sing her way out of a paper bag.
He stood up there and he said in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio, and I said something to him and walked out the studio. He said, I'm going to drug them out. I'm going to get them all on drugs, and I'm going to pimp their out to my... I was like, left somebody kids and walked out.
Although this is obviously an extreme case, what happened at Bad Boy shows exactly what can go wrong when these same patterns play out inside artist-owned labels. Because whether it's someone as unpredictable as Ye or someone as predatory as Diddy, their cultural influence often shields them from accountability. The fame, legacy, and image gives them more freedom to exploit the people beneath them than any traditional executive could reasonably get away with. Still, a video like this wouldn't be complete without the mention of Birdman's Cash Money, specifically as it pertains to Lil Wayne and his label Young Money. Overseen by Lil Wayne as a subsidiary of Cash Money, there was a time when Young Money looked like a prime example of what a successful artist-owned label could be. This was in the era that spawned the trio Nicki Minaj, Drake, and Tyga, who go on to leave an indelible mark on the culture. In fact, the label was killing it to the extent that from 2009's We Are Young Money compilation through to Tyga's Well Done mixtape series, which concluded in 2014, nothing they put out didn't go at least gold, if not multi-platinum. But while everything they dropped couldn't stay off the billboard, what brought the entire operation down was a
Fair use.
that would cost Wayne his career. By the mid-2010s, Wayne wasn't just a rapper. He was hip-hop.
Yeah, Wayne was the biggest artist on the planet. I remember that.
Feature launched a new star, and the Carter 5 was meant to be the culmination of a decade-long run. But behind the scenes, the label that had built him was choking him out financially. Wayne claimed Birdman owed him tens of millions of dollars in unpaid advances and profits from his own label Young Money. And in 2014, he went public, tweeting that he was a quote-unquote prisoner, and that the Carter 5 was being held back against his will. 4 long years passed while the album sat in limbo, while Lil Wayne, arguably the most influential rapper of the 2000s, couldn't legally release new music under his own name. What made it worse was the irony. This wasn't a story of an unknown artist getting
Them
shelved
tight
by a
ass
major.
pants
This was
on.
Lil Wayne, an A-list icon being treated like a disposable asset because the man cutting his checks wasn't a corporate executive. It was his quote-unquote father. If Wayne had been signed
Daddy.
to a traditional major label,
Kissing
this
Birdman.
situation would have been unthinkable. Universal or Sony wouldn't risk freezing their biggest moneymaker over personal greed. And there would have been accounting, audits, and contracts reviewed by lawyers, not handshakes between quote-unquote brothers. In the end, it wasn't loyalty or brotherhood that saved Lil Wayne's career.
And Bird, people still do business with Birdman because he was running with Young Thug at the time, I remember. So I guess Birdman thought he was going to replace Wayne. And even though Young Thug is a talented artist, he's no Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne is still one of the greatest artists to touch the microphone in hip-hop. Mainstream, with hits. I would like to see Jay-Z and Lil Wayne do a versus, though, matter of fact. I think that'd be a win. But off that note, that's what I understand. If Lil Wayne was going through seizures, convulsions, health scares, and Birdman treated his son like this. He kissed him out, got matching tattoos. They done all this right here. He knew him since he was a adolescent. And this is the person he treated like shit. It's fucked up. How can somebody still do business with this motherfucker? I'm amazed by the mind games. The young boys of the world, the thugs, Rich Homie Quans, everybody after that. Why are people doing business with this motherfucker?
Universal Music Group to finally step in to clean up the wreckage. What began as a simple dispute over unpaid royalties had escalated into one of the longest and most expensive battles in rap history. A $51 million lawsuit that threatened to collapse Cash Money Records entirely. So Universal had no choice. They were already distributing both Cash Money and Young Money, meaning that every day the Carter Five stayed locked up in a vault, they were losing millions. So behind closed doors, Universal brokered a peace deal, with reports revealing that the company cut Lil Wayne a lump sum $50 million settlement, effectively buying his freedom and buying out Young Money in the process, meaning that in one stroke, Wayne was made whole but stripped of the empire he had built. And now the very label he had created with his father to escape the system.
Hell, Wayne got his tour bus shot up during this time.
Dropped in 2018. It wasn't just an album. It was a cultural sigh of relief. And while Wayne walked away a free man, it came with a bitter truth. Had he been signed to a regular label, this war might have never happened. Then there's Drake's OVO Sound, a label designed less as a platform for artists and more as a reinforcement of his own legacy. Co-founded by Noah, 40 Shabib, and backed by Republic, OVO Sound has put out close to 30 albums over the years. But here's the thing. Unless Drake's name is attached, most of those projects barely make a dent. With a lineup of bus drivers such as Roy Woods, Baka Not Nice, and Smiley, among others, almost all of them have failed to make the seismic splash.
Yeah, they trash.
At the same time, OVO became less of a launching pad for new stars. And more
Party
of a
Next Door don't do
machine
shit.
on top. Talented acts like PBSN, Magic Jordan, and Party Next Door ended up contributing more to Drake's catalog than their own, feeding into the idea that OVO isn't really a label at all. It's a glorified sweatshop.
They basically put us in a studio, and it was like a studio camp almost. There were tents in there. There were like people flying
beats.
in. Yeah,
Make beats. Stay in the dungeon. Don't leave. You cannot leave.
Literally tents.
You can't tell anyone you're working on this project.
We met like so many people that we now work with and collaborate with.
Yeah,
It's just crazy.
it
Like
was-
there's actually tents.
Yeah. There were tents in the
tents.
studio. People were capping. I
Real
slept
tents
in a
the
tent in
vocal
the
booths,
studio.
everything.
Alongside directly writing tracks and producing for him, they even gave some of their best material away purely to assist Drake. Namely, the song Hold On, We're Going Home.
And then we put it on a USB for Drake to drive home to one night. He drove home. We showed up the next day, and he had tracked it. And they're like, "We love this song. You know, this is the one." And 40's sitting there with his arms up in the studio, and he's like, "We got it. We've got the single. We did it."
Alongside Party Next Door, perpetually playing second fiddle, and other former artists like Mackinnon speaking on how their relationship with Drizzy went sour, stories from Magic Jordan is precisely why someone like The Weeknd knew they had to escape OVO if they were to be successful. Much like the duo Magic Jordan, The Weeknd once recalled having to give away damn near half of a project to help Drake complete Take Care. So when the chance finally came, instead of signing with OVO as everyone expected, he chose to form his own label and take full control of his destiny. To say that Drake was pissed was an understatement. Granted, Weeknd's own label, XO, hasn't necessarily been a major launchpad for other artists, with only artists like Belly and Nav managing to make any notable ground in the industry. But at least in this case, Abel never made any comments about how he was going to single-handedly revolutionize the game under his label. So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, it's
Fair
not
use,
that
fair
artists
use.
should stay away from a rapper-owned label. It's that they need to look past the music and pay attention to the person running things. because a label always ends up reflecting the artist who built it. And one of the best examples of that is J. Cole. With Dreamville, Cole built more than a label. He built a movement. It was never about control or money. It was about family and putting on creatives he truly believed in. So when his partnership with Universal recently came to an end, he made sure every artist on the roster was taken care of to the extent that they'll never have to work again.
Dreamville's so Dreamville in Cole.
Oh, wow, damn. J. Cole put niggas on.
That's
Make sure they gotta work no more.
things in hip hop right there. That never happens. That never happens. And it happens to the regard where if on Dreamville don't want to do music and they just want to move on with their life, they'll be good.
Damn. Oh, that good.
Be straight. Like, you do it because you love it.
Master P did the same with No Limit, turning it into one of the most successful, independent, family-run labels hip-hop has ever seen. Then there's 50 Cent with G-Unit, which was clearly a brotherhood for 50, to give his friends Lloyd Banks, Young Buck, and Tony Yayo the room to create their own paths while still feeding into something bigger than themselves. And although Eminem's Shady Records didn't grow into the empire he might have imagined, he had pure intentions. In return, thanks to him shining light on raw talent the industry probably would have ignored, we got Obi Trice, Slaughterhouse, D12, and of course, 50 Cent.
Hey, man, fair use, fair use, fair use. If you like the video, like, comment, subscribe.